I've played a handful of dating games, and I think they get a bad rap more often than not. Mostly because the really bad ones are a lot more easy to spot, but when dating games are done well, they can be a grand old time. Also, lots of games have dating elements without being a dating game, like the farm simulators or Fire Emblem, etc, etc. The biggest problem I've come across with dating game systems is the actual dateable options. Nothing takes the wind out of my sails more than seeing my dateable options and going, oh, is this it? Or even worse, aw man, I have to play as a stinky boy to date this character. If you've experienced this, well, I have just the game for you. Here, crashing full force into the scene, date everything. This darling has a 99% chance of having something that piques your interest. We got skinny folks, we got large folks, we got big, muscly, strong folks. You want someone older, someone shorter, long hair, short hair, curly hair, no hair, we got he's, we got she's, we got they's, we got disabilities, both visible and not visible, we got a guy who worships you, we got a dommy mommy, we even have non-human characters up in here. There is a whole giant spectrum of all kinds of folks, and you can date them all. Date everything. It's just like it says on the tin. It's a game where you date everything, by Sassy Chap Games and Team 17. You're stuck in your home, but are gifted some fancy new glasses called Dateviators, where you can interact with regular household objects and see them materialize into various attractive people for you to talk to and try to flirt with. Not only is it just a fun premise, but the real draw for me was the absolutely stacked cast of voice actors. Ray Chase, Robbie Daymond, and Max Mittelman spearheaded the whole idea, but there's a ton of voice actors littered all over this game that you definitely recognize. Which is great, it really helps to bring the over 100 dateable objects to life, in more ways than just the Dateviators could do on its own. I finally got my hands on the game and I wanted to babble about it because I've really enjoyed it, and I hope the teams behind this can go on to do even more cool and interesting stuff like this. So, what do you do in Date Everything? Well, there's two different aspects to the game that make it fun. First, the I Spy portion of the game, where you rummage around your house trying to find all the things you can talk to. There's a lot to take in right from the get-go. There's a kitchen, 2 bathrooms, a workout room, closets, cabinets, and it's all filled with stuff that you can meet and date. Your Dateviator reticle will light up when it hovers over an object you can interact with, so that'll help you narrow down things a bit. For example, if I tell you you can date the wall, the ceiling, and the floor, you might think you could just blast any of these walls to interact with, but it's actually only in this one specific spot at the top of the stairs. The glowing reticle helped me figure this out. There's a lot of overlap in certain places too, like there's multiple TVs in the house, multiple mirrors, so not every dateable object can only be located in one specific location. In fact, with characters like Windolin, the window, talking to her in different locations will give you completely different topics of conversation with her. Obviously, the big furniture stuff will be the first things that jump out at you, but there's quite a few very little objects scattered around in various, often cluttered areas. And a couple of dateables aren't available to you right away. You have to do other character storylines first in order to actually unlock them. If you don't want to use the internet to find a walkthrough, don't worry. There's this thing called rumors in the game. When interacting with objects, they'll sometimes chat with other dateables even if you haven't met them yet, or they'll reference them in one way or another. If you have met the dateable before, you can sometimes get specific dialogue options that mention your familiarity with them. If not though, these interactions will be added to your Rumors app on your phone. You can use the design of the character or the context clues of the dialogue to help you try and figure out where to find anyone you might have missed. Some characters like Gaia and Scandelabra are all about giving you more rumors. But that's only one part of the game. The real meat and potatoes here is what you do after you interact with the objects. I know the game really popped off with seeing different people's reactions to all the different dateable objects, but the storylines that follow that initial meeting is where the real heart and soul of the game is, and I think it's woefully underrated. Because this game is not just finding who's attractive to you, it's not just a couple of chats with back and forth flirting, well, For some characters it is, I guess, but most characters aren't approaching you, the player, as a potential partner. Most of them are just kind of getting up to their own things, and you just happen to also get to be able to flirt with them if you want to. My knee-jerk reaction to this game was, oh, this is the perfect game for bisexual or pansexual folks. But honestly, that's not really true. Well, it is, but the thing is, you don't have to find every character, or even any of the characters, attractive just to fully enjoy this game. Because here's the thing, it's called Date Everything, not love everything. It's something they introduce right away with Dorian. There is equally important value when it comes to friendship. Just because every character might not float your boat, that doesn't mean you can't still have a fun time and befriend them all too. There's no tangible difference between the love ending versus a friendship ending with the characters, except for a couple of lines of dialogue. So hopefully that helps with what I see most people going through, which is trying to find the ones you think are most sexy. All these characters have something going on beyond just their intimacy with you, and that's the fun part of talking to them. After getting an ending with them, you can even realize these objects, aka making them human. The entire game is filled with phenomenal character designs, and seeing them transform from object to human is one of my favorite parts. Whether it's finding new objects, exploring their personal storylines, or seeing them get realized, the game is always drip-feeding you something new and cool to look forward to. So, talking to everybody. What's that all about? You only get 5 date charges a day, and you can only interact with the dateable once per day too. Most characters will reach an ending with you after a handful of conversations, and depending on the answers you give during these convos, it can lead to them loving you, being friends with you, or hating you. Every time you reach an ending with someone, it gets added to your specs points, basically they're stats that help you unlock certain dialogue, and you can only do certain endings with a certain number of stats. So the more endings you get with people, the higher your stats will get, so you can get even more endings with people. Some characters aren't as simple as all that though. Certain dateables will require you to interact with other characters first to be a part of their storyline, and that can affect the outcome of what they're doing. With other objects, you need to take the date viators off and interact with something in the physical world. Certain characters will require you to only interact on certain days of the week or certain times of the day. There's quite a lot to actually discover once you get into it. And juggling your daily schedule can be a lot of fun and a lot more intricate than you might think initially. Getting the different endings you want isn't always as straightforward as you might think, too. Sure, being generally nice will work most of the time, but that might not actually lead to the exact ending you want. And certain characters can have multiple different endings that aren't related to your hate-friend-love spectrum. Take Drysdale and Washford, the stackable laundry machine and dryer. They used to date each other, and their storyline is clearly about them wanting to try to get back together. Your actions with them can help get the stackables back together, or keep them separate depending on your answers. And their endings will change depending on that too. Just because you've gotten a dateable to be friends with you or in love with you, that doesn't always mean there's not more to their characters you can explore. The best advice for staying on a dateable's good side is to lean into their gimmicks. Take Curtin Rod for example. The Curtins. Their whole thing is they like being shady with each other. Get it? 'Cause curtains. I just didn't have it in my heart to be mean to them though, so I kept choosing the nice options instead, so by the end, the two were only willing to be friends with me. And I didn't get a love ending with them, because I wasn't leaning into the thing they wanted to do. This is where that value of the friendship ending really shows how important it is. There's certain characters who are tackling specific things in their storylines that might not be up everyone's alley. There's an option in the game to warn the player and help them avoid certain triggering or explicit topics that you, the player, might not be comfortable with experiencing. But because you'll be skipping over their dialogue with this feature on, that means you're not going to be able to get their love ending. But that's fine, you can still be friends with them. Perhaps this is the beginning of a beautiful metaphor for healthy boundaries in a relationship. Or something. I don't know, workshop that idea in the comments, I guess. Yes, this game doesn't just have a ton of diversity with its characters' designs. The different storylines you can follow span a whole array of tones and levels of drama. Plenty of characters have fun, silly little plotlines, but plenty of others tackle serious issues. Mood swings, memory loss, abusive or toxic relationships. I want to hammer this home because, like I said at the beginning, I think dating games get a bad reputation. People say these games are vapid and dumb, but Date Everything proves how these games can be vehicles to tell really compelling and interesting stories. I initially was having a blast just trying to find all the dateable things, but then the next thing I knew, I was just invested in trying to help and learn about all the different personal stories everyone was going through. However, I understand I've been singing the game's praises a lot, but I do have some problems I'd like to discuss where it could be improved. I'm playing on the Switch, so this might not be true for other versions of the game, but I got a very consistent problem when going to bed. It would just have an error and force the game to close. It was happening so regularly, I became obsessed with saving my game after every conversation. I suspect it has something to do with Nightmare visiting me in my sleep, because this also happened after several conversations with her too. After getting kicked out and reloading the game, there wasn't a problem anymore, but it was still kind of annoying. Another annoying bug is in the Datadex menu. If I looked at a character's collectibles, the menu kind of just stops, like I can't scroll anymore. I have to exit out of the Datadex app and then reload it again. That was very frustrating. But like I said, it might just be because I'm on the Switch. Let me know if you've seen these issues with other versions of the game on different consoles. Mikey is the personification of microtransactions if you get the DLC. His dialogue got very quickly repetitive when interacting with him daily, and it felt rather tedious after a while. I wish his dialogue got expedited after the first time talking to him, at least when going through the menus and pulling for brundles. That's what they're called, brundles. That was his thing. After an object becomes realized, they get this golden glow on them to signify that they can't be interacted with anymore. I appreciate this, but it also is kind of ugly looking once a bunch of stuff gets realized. I wish I could turn this off in a menu somewhere. Speaking of menus, a sort of benign point I'm disappointed with is the boring menu setup. I guess it's cute, it's like a phone with apps, but I think they all look kind of boring, and also it isn't always easy at a glance to tell which app is which. So yeah, I don't have many issues, but there are some issues. So yeah, otherwise, highly recommended. I feel like people didn't give this game enough of a chance. There was a lot of noise around people reacting to the designs of the characters, but I don't think enough folks showed the actual character and story the attention it deserved. If you're a completionist, or even just trying to see all the datables, there's quite a lot here. I thought I'd be blasting through the game in just a few days, but there's a lot in this game. Over 100 datables and a web of storylines and plots to discover, thousands of dialogue boxes. It's easy to spend a long time exploring it all. And best of all, I didn't want it to end. I was having so much fun with this game. Not every character or plotline wowed me, but there were definitely more hits than misses. I was actually surprised by quite a few story arcs and outcomes. The writing is clever, tongue-in-cheek yet poetic, takes itself seriously when handling serious topics, but also has a lot of fun and funny moments too. I think this is a hyper underappreciated gem. I would love to see more from the team, maybe even a Date Everything 2, meet other old members of that fan club, see other types of Dorian. There's plenty of other objects that haven't gotten dateable forms that they could play around with. So please, if you haven't given a dating game a chance, try this one. It's infectious and fun, with a beautiful art and creative characters, top-tier voice acting, and a memorable soundtrack. I hope we get way more from Team 17 and Sassy Chap Games. Especially if the chap is going to be a character in the game again. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Scaring Crows, Messiah, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, Lucien, Wild Pilot, Bunkin Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, C1 Trooper, Ruby Rune, Lava Rose, Unspoken, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandemonium, Peter, Agiri, Eden, Silverheart Soul, Doki Pokey, Zappy, Wolfgang, Philip, Lalaroni, Marie, MD, Nerf Ned, Video Gamer, Middlecoop, Vermithor, Card Creates, Cat with a Knife, and Rose. So yeah, what do you think? Have you played Date Everything? I know I'm like a year late, but whatever. I like the game a lot and I wanted to talk about it. Who's your favorite character? Like, my favorite storyline was Zoe's storyline. I loved that one. I was so enthralled with it, and it's really long too, and I was just so invested. I also really liked Prissy Plastique. The ending with her was shocking to me. I like the decorations on the walls with like art and Lady Memoria. Any and all thoughts and opinions? What's some good? What's some bad? Have you experienced any glitches or issues? What do you like? Dislike? Favorite character? Least favorite character? Any and all thoughts and opinions? I would love to see them in the comments below. Check out Date Everything, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.